FCSB 0, Manchester United 2 as Manchester United qualify for the round of 16 in the Europa League. And that's a good thing, guys, because that means Manchester United avoid playing 2 extra games in the knockout rounds of the Europa League. Unbeaten, shamelessly, I will say that, unbeaten in the Europa League. And I think there was a lot of positives to take away from the game. But, guys, brick by brick, we are building brick by brick, so let's not get too carried away with ourselves. As always, be sure to hit the like button, be sure to subscribe, and let me know your thoughts down below of what you thought of the game. Now, I'm going to start with the first biggest talking point. It's probably Kobbie Mainoo starting in the 10. That is where his position is. That's where you play to his strengths. You saw today getting a goal and getting an assist, but also I think it's the role in which he can play in this Ruben Amorim system in the left 10 or the right 10, in the more advanced channels and the advanced role, if you like to call it that, in this starting 11. Now, in particular in the second half when Garnacho came on, and actually even in the first half when he was playing on the left hand side, he was making those runs in behind, and Lisandro Martinez was finding him, and Lisandro Martinez offers that balance with that left foot pass, the pinpoint accuracy that he can pass with. He was able to find Kobbie Mainoo in those half spaces to be able to create something. Now, one thing I like about Kobbie Mainoo playing in the 10 is the less defensive actions that he has to participate in. Now, of course, he can do that when he plays against Ugarte, but like I said, playing him in the 10 plays to his strengths, and that also gives Ruben Amorim another option of something to do in the 10s in case something is potentially not working. Now, he got a goal and he got an assist, and I think he might have deserved man of the match as well in the performance today. And even when he switched over to the right side, he doesn't require a lot of touches, and I feel like in this Amorim system in particular today, what we were able to see was players, especially in the second half, not taking a lot of touches on the ball and playing one-touch football. Himself, Ahmad, Bruno, Eriksen, Garnacho was getting involved as well. Now, one thing I really like about Kobbie Mainoo right now in this system today in particular is that when Manchester United are attacking, and essentially it's like a 3-2-5, because Bruno Fernandes is playing in midfield, he offers actually an extra body, so your Man United are able to attack with 6 people, including the wing backs. Now, Diogo Dalot's goal is just a prime example of the role of a wing back in this Ruben Amorim system, which is why it's so important to get natural wing backs, but also people that can develop into a wing back if Manchester United have a full back at their dispense. Now, the wing back is essential that they get in the box and make those late runs in at the back post. We didn't see it that much over the last 18 or so games under Ruben Amorim because the fullbacks or the wing backs in particular were not able to do that, especially with Rasmus Hojlund today. And we're going to get to Rasmus Hojlund as well, but in particular when he's occupying that central space and coming and making that near post run, it opens up so much space at the back post, and that's just a perfect example of a Ruben Amorim wing back and a Ruben Amorim goal-esque, if you want to call it that. Now, that comes off the back of a great pass from Kobbie Mainoo, and even so with Kobbie's goal, it's another example of those cutbacks from the wide channels, whether it's from the 10, it came from Garnacho, but even there it could be a wing back making that cut across ball into the box, and Kobbie Mainoo's there making that extra run when the centre backs are being occupied by the number 9, and it's just a great finish. Kobbie Mainoo for me is a 10. I've always wondered, where does he fit in this Ruben Amorim system? I wasn't really that fond of the defensive actions that he has to participate in when he's playing in that deeper role, and when you're playing in that 10, you know, if you're able to have close control of the ball, which he's able to, you're able to play one-touch football, which you're able to, you're also able to make good runs, which he's able to, then that gives Ruben Amorim another option. Now, I'm actually going to speak about Alejandro Garnacho because I really want to know what you guys thought. Another impactful performance from him. I feel like he's a lot more intentional with possession now. Over the last couple of games, he's come off the bench, making an impact, even in games where he started. But today in particular, I feel like he was a lot more intentional. He was a lot more responsible on the ball, making the right decisions. Has a one-on-one that he hits the post. Arguably, should he have scored there? Maybe so. But in front of goal, he needs to do better. But in terms of his all-round game that he's been contributing over recent games, I'm really impressed with it. And it really makes me wonder, is Manchester United really going to sell him? Are they really going to give him off to Napoli or even to Chelsea as the deadline day approaches in the coming days? Today's performance in particular was just a good, impactful and intentional performance. That's what you want from your players, especially when Manchester United have all these other options in the 10s. Essentially, Ruben Amorim gets to experiment with different 10s, whether it's Garnacho, whether it's Mainoo, whether it's Xerxes, whether it's Bruno, whether it's Ahmad. And Garnacho and Ahmad today in particular, and Kobbie Mainoo, by having Mainoo and Garnacho in the 10s, it adds additional width when you have Ahmad at the right wing back. And Like I say all the time, I love Ahmad in the 10, but I equally love him at right wing back because of what he offers on that right hand side. What Manchester United lack in the wing back position, he offers a lot more. And if you notice today, especially in the second half, a lot of build up was coming from that right hand side because you have the more technically able players that are good on the ball, players that don't require a lot of touches, players that can play quick one touch football and be intentional with possession. You've got Mazraoui, you've got Ahmad, you've got Kobbie as well. I think Bruno did quite well as well in the midfield in that deeper role, playing those line breaking passes, having Lisandro Martinez next to him, and Licha has been immense over the last couple of games. And today, I don't know if you noticed, but the backline were able to play a lot more advanced. I'm not blaming this on Harry Maguire, by the way, but when Ruben Amorim, before he came to Manchester United, Sporting under Amorim had the 4th highest line in Europe, and that was after teams like City and Inter, etc. They were 4th highest, and I think that is an important part of Manchester United's game plan under Ruben Amorim, is if that game plan is going to flourish by condensing them or condensing the opponent into their own half and essentially having everyone on the middle line. It allows Manchester United to condense them into their own box, into their own half, and make sure that, you know, they're not able to play out if necessary when you have players who are able to play a higher line. High line hype. Don't get at me, guys. But that is one thing that I noticed today. Now, I'm going to talk about Rasmus Hojlund because I really wanted him to get a goal today. I really, really wanted. And he showed some bright sparks running in behind in the first half. But sometimes what I do notice, and today I noticed it as well, when he is running in behind, he tends to make that diagonal kind of run where Leach will find him in the half space on the wide channel. And then he'll kind of look up to find someone in the box. But my friend, you're meant to be the guy that's in the box. You are the striker. You should be the target man. When he looks up and no one's there, or one of the 10s are making a later run, by then he'll just go back to the wing back and kind of just restart and regroup. Essentially, that was what was happening. And one thing I also noticed today is that he did not win one aerial duel. He went 0 for 8 in aerial duels. Now, when he does jump up, today he came up again against a physical defender that is getting up in aerial duels with him. And sometimes, you know, he won a foul or two because the player's putting an arm into the back of his head or into his shoulder, but the physicality is lacking in the aerial duels, and I think that is the biggest telling factor for me when it comes to watching Rasmus Hojlund in aerial duels. He is a physical player, don't get me wrong. We see him wrestling people non-stop, and that could actually be the downfall of his gameplay sometimes. But when it comes to the aerial duels, it seems like he's lacking that physicality to get up for the aerial duels and kind of battle. And Manchester United are able to win sometimes the second ball, and sometimes they're not. But what you need to do is have your target man at least contending for the aerial duel. Sometimes I feel like when Man United do go long and they go to their target man, 9 times out of 10 is guaranteed that the opponent's going to win the header and they'll be able to restart with possession. And that is one kind of noticed or focal point for me from today, and I've seen it across other games. If you are not getting in front of goal as a number 9, your all-rounded number 9 play needs to be there. Whether it's winning the aerial duels, it's the simple thing. Winning aerial duels, just linking up the play, holding up the ball, it needs to be there. He also won 3 of 7, I think it was, ground duels. So he needs to do a little bit better there. Amorim was giving him a lot more time, I feel like today. Took him off just before the 80th or so minute. And I really wanted Rasmus Hojlund to get a goal because I heard a stat during the game that he for every 67 minutes in the Europa League, he gets a goal, in comparison to the Premier League, where it's over every 500 minutes that he's getting a goal. And once you kind of open the floodgates and you get that first goal, it's hopeful that you can also get the next goals. And, you know, with more games coming up, a game on the weekend, a game midweek in the FA Cup, the games are coming thick and fast. But luckily for Man United, they don't have to play 2 knockout games or the round of 16, if you want to call it that. Now, I know a lot of people feel like Man United should focus on Europa League to get into Champions League, because let's be honest, Champions League in the Premier League, not happening. It's not happening. And I know a lot of people hope that Man United make it far, and I want Man United to go on and win it. But there are some telling factors right now in the team that is evident that Man United do not have the assets available for Ruben Amorim to play in the way that he wanted to play. Today in particular, in the first half, you could see Man United were being a lot more snappy in possession, trying to be a lot more quicker. When Garnacho came on, when Ahmad came on, they were able to utilise that quick, fast-paced passing. And that always is not a necessity. I feel like in today's game, it was a necessity because the team was a weaker opponent. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but Man United were able to push up. They were able to have one sitting midfielder, Eriksen at one point in the second half, and then Casemiro in the latter stages of the game. So they were able to push up a lot more, kind of condense the opponent into their own final third, and just utilise possession to create chances. Now, today in particular, it didn't seem like Man United were spamming balls into the box. like Garnacho was playing, I feel like Man United were being a lot more intentional with the possession. They were trying to get it into the dangerous positions in the box, in particular from the wide channels or in the half spaces from the 10, cutting it back across goal and hoping someone gets on to the end of it. Man United could have had a few more other goals. Now, in terms of the transfer window, I'm really excited to see what Patrick Dogu has to offer, because I think with Patrick Dogu at left wing back and the fact that he can play so advanced, I think Ahmad will play a lot more in the 10 role, because Manchester United will be able to utilise the left channel a lot more. I wouldn't be surprised if him and Ahmad both play as wing backs, because then Man United have two options on the wide channels, and they can have someone like Garnacho, Kobbie, they can have someone like Bruno in the 10 as well. Marcus Rashford, again, not in the matchday squad. Ruben Amorim was asked questions about him. Manchester United and Marcus Rashford need to work together to find a solution for this situation, because if he stays past the transfer window, I don't know if he's going to sit out for 4 months of the season and then leave in the summer. Let me know your thoughts down below. But it's a big 3 points for Manchester United. Another clean sheet. I think this is the first back-to-back clean sheets under Ruben Amorim. Manchester United only have 3 clean sheets since Ruben Amorim arrived, and 2 of them have come in the last 2 games. So there are definitely some positive signs. But like I said, guys, brick by brick, Man United are building the foundations of hopefully what will be a very successful squad in the future. Brick by brick. Kobbie Mainoo in the 10. That is all. Be sure to hit the like button, and if you are new here, please do subscribe.